One Jewish poet famously said, reading scripture in translation is like kissing your bride through the veil. And he has a point, even if she's the right lady, let's face it, that's not the intimacy that the bridegroom was looking for. And so it's no wonder that the Second Vatican Council and even more recent magisterium have emphasized and reiterated this idea, the importance of the original languages. Now I know not all of us have had the privilege of studying Biblical Hebrew and Biblical Greek, and that's okay. Inside of Verbum Bible software, we have the tools that we need that we can tap into the richness of the original text, even if we don't know the original languages. And so that's what we need to show you in this video. So come with me, if you will, to the scriptures. I'm in Matthew 16:23 especially. This is right after Jesus has announced that he would be put to death, and Peter reacts badly. He resists this passion of Christ. And so what does Christ say to the rock? He says, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a hindrance to me, for you're not on the side of God, but of men." But compare that to the NAB. In verse 23, Christ says, "Get behind me, Satan. You're an obstacle to me. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." And then in the Douay Rheims, it says, "Go behind me, Satan. Thou art a scandal unto me, because thou savorest not the things that are of God, but the things that are of men." Okay, I haven't used savorest recently in my vocabulary. I'm going to have to brush up. But in the LEB, we get yet another rendition of this. He says, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a cause for stumbling to me, because you are not intent on the things of God, but the things of people." Okay, so let's move to the NRSV, last one, okay? Verse 23, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." Wow, that is 5 different Bibles in 5 very different translations. What in the world is going on here? I wish we could get behind the veil. Now, if you've already studied Greek, what you might be inclined to do is just grab your Nestle Aland, your Greek New Testament, and see what the original is. And that we can certainly do. Here in verse 23 it says, "Hypage opizomou satana, skandalon emu, hoti uphrones tatoutheu alataton anthropon." Now, whether you read that or whether you don't, know that you can do plenty to tap into the original richness. Watch this. Simply take your mouse and come over here to your English Bible, and let's hover over the word Satan. Watch what happens now in the bottom left corner of the same tile. See how that pop-up shows me Satanas? Satanas is the Greek lemma that underlies this English translation. And so it is that you can move across the word. So come over here to stumbling block. And as you do so, you'll see that skandalon is the word in the bottom left. And if I put my word over block, it still says skandalon. And you know what's happening here? If I come to the Greek and I select the text skandalon, notice that the 3 words in English, a stumbling block, are highlighted. That's because 3 English words were used to translate a single Greek word. And don't you love how you can select one and it appears in the English translation? If you're not seeing that, what you need to do is turn on these visual filters. That's these 3 circles up here. Now we're going to do this everywhere, so just come to one of them and drop down to where it says corresponding selection. And if this box isn't checked, well, you're going to want to check it. And then as you move to the right, you'll see another gray triangle or gray circle with a white triangle, and then click Show in All Appropriate Resources. You're going to want to click that so this works everywhere you go. So watch, I can highlight, let's see, let's highlight "You are setting your mind," okay, in English. And now watch how phrones is what was highlighted automatically in Greek. So the verb phrones is translated "you are setting your mind," apparently. Okay, now, and I can do that on either side of the page. Anthropon in Greek highlights, this is interesting, human. human, and then where's this things business? Things, it's not in the Greek, right? So this is where it would be interesting to have some more powerful tools. We can play this game of highlighting and moving back and forth all day, but I'm going to suggest we come to tools and open the information tool. So what you can do is just drag it over here to the right, and then maybe I'll split the screen on the left between my Greek and my English Bibles. And now, whenever you take your mouse to a word, and let's just click on, setting, and see what happens here in my information pane. All right, so notice what's happening. In the top right, it says definition, and I'm getting two entries here from two different dictionaries. One is an English dictionary, because I clicked the English word in my English Bible, and okay, so it's looking up that English word and it found it in the Collins Latin Dictionary. To be honest, that's not very helpful, but what is helpful is the second, and this is the Greek word, phroneo, right? It's telling me that set in my English NRSV actually rests upon the Greek lemma phroneo, which means many things. Think, form / hold an opinion, judge, set one's mind on, be intent on, be minded, be disposed. So that's a lot of definitions for this one verb. No wonder then in the section below I see all these different translations from my Bibles. And I love that at a glance I can see who's saying you are on the side of, and who's saying you are setting your mind, etc., or you are intent. That is very helpful. And I can quickly navigate to any of these by clicking the links. Or if this isn't enough, I can open a text comparison, and I'll accept the invitation to do so. And look what opens up. Here, how many Bibles are here that I can compare and contrast? And I can add more, or I can take those away. I can manipulate this list of Bibles. But notice this, on the top right of this panel menu, I can drop down and show differences. And this is nice because maybe there's one that's especially different, like the NRSV is quite different from the RSV, 24% difference. I might start to draw my eye's attention to those differences. Now, I'm going to keep moving, so let's close our text comparison, because down below we have word info. And isn't this great? We continue to get more information on the Greek word, even if we never touch the Greek New Testament. This is fantastic. So the first line is what's in the manuscript in Greek. And again, if you don't speak Greek or read the letters, the transliteration is here to help you. Phrones. Now, phroneo is the Greek lemma. That is also transliterated phroneo. Now, if you're not familiar with the term lemma, that's simply the lexical form of the word. It's the form you would look up in the dictionary. So for example, in the English language, when you're looking up the word went in the dictionary, where do you have to go? Not to the W, but to the G, right? Because went is merely a conjugation of the lexical form go. And so go would be our lemma. In this case, phrones is the conjugated form, and then phroneo is the dictionary form. It means think, set one mind on. And look, if I don't know how to pronounce it, I can always click this megaphone.
Phroneo.
And Logos Verbum pronounces it for me. Now, just to the left here, of course, I have a live link. I can open a Bible word study. And this Bible word study is very good to have on hand because what it opens immediately are my top dictionaries. And so if this is my word of interest, I'm so glad to have the best information at a click. So I know the exegetical dictionary is going to provide a mini essay on this word. And look what I can find in short time. Scrolling down, I read that Romans 8, 5 through 8 is characteristic of this word phroneo for Paul. I want to check that out. And here it says, and I'm going to read this, "For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit. To set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the Spirit is life and peace. For the mind that is set on the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law. Indeed, it cannot. And those who are in the flesh cannot please God. Now, gosh, I have to wonder if Paul would have said these same words of Peter there in Matthew 16. Was Peter living in the flesh? Was he setting his mind on things of the flesh instead of living in the Spirit, instead setting his mind on the Spirit? And that's why he was an enemy of God, hostile to God, and Jesus would say to him, "Get behind me, Satan." I don't know, but I love that I can simply hover my mouse over set their minds, and I'm clued into the fact just by this highlighting pattern here that same root underlies three different instances, one in verse 5, one in verse 6, actually two in verse 6, and then another in verse 7. And so I can, of course, click that, and my information pane, my information tool goes to bat for me, telling me that, sure enough, that's the verb phroneo, right, there in verse 5. And as I look on verse 6, I can click again and see that this is a similar word, phronema. I can always click or hover over a word and see the bottom left corner as well. So notice that what's happening here. Go back to Matthew 16:23. In fact, to navigate there quickly, I'll just click this arrow and go to Matthew 16:23. Because when I am here in the information pane, you'll remember that I came through the Bible word study to so much information, but look just below that what I'm also invited to do, which I might not have thought to do, but Verbum is cluing me in that it would be really good to run a search on the root word phren, that underlies that verb phroneo. So phroneo means to set one's mind, right? Well, phren means understanding, it says here. But look at this search that I've just been able to do by a simple click. It's telling me all of the moments in the New Testament where this root appears. So I'm interested in Matthew. Where else does my author use this same root? And look what's happening in a number of these gospel passages. I see the background of wisdom, wise, some 6 times or more, right? So in here in 7:24, it says, "Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man." A wise man is a phronimos man. Phronimos, that is the adjective, but what is the root that underlies it? It's phren, as you can see here. So this shares the same root. And this wise man, it's not just intellectual activity that's described here. He's one who hears the word and he puts it into action, right? He builds on rock in this way by being obedient to that word which he understands. And likewise, as we come down to 10:16, "Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves, so be wise as serpents and innocent as doves." I love that we see a coupling now of wisdom with moral innocence. And that's the way Jesus envisions this type of wisdom. And as we keep scrolling down the page, we see more parables in 24 and 25. 25 has, of course, the 10 virgins. 5 of them are foolish, and 5 are phronimos. There's our word one more time. That same root, phren, underlies the adjective phronimos, meaning prudent or wise. And so things are beginning to take shape, aren't they? I love this, that in Matthew 16:23, I didn't have the word phronimos. I had a verb, which I wouldn't have connected to any of these other verses in Matthew, quite honestly, right? You are not on the side of God. What clues me in there to this idea of wisdom or of setting your mind? Very little, right? If I'm reading in the RSV. So it's so important, I'm beginning to see, to pay attention to the original language. And I want to make sure that from now on, I am using my Bible in such a way here in Verbum that I don't miss out on this good information. So there's two more things that we can do. And one of them is look at interlinears, and the other is look at a multiple view. And so I want to show you those two things. First, let's talk about interlinears. So what's nice about this is that it's a simple click away. If you hover your mouse over this aleph and then omega, you'll see that it says interlinear. And what I can do is I can simply click that, and it will turn on or off a visual filter, right? It will show me either just the English manuscript, or it will show additional lines underneath it, but always aligned with each word. That's why it's called an interlinear. So here I might choose, for example, the surface. Yeah, let's put that. Let's go ahead and put the manuscript up there as well, and the lemma, and its transliterated form, its root. I'm going to put all of these on here just so you can see all the possibilities here. When I click off, nothing happens yet. Don't be surprised. You simply have to, now that you've set the tool, now you have to just click on the left side of it, and that activates the tool. And so look what came. All of these things under each every word. Now I know that's a bit of an information overload, but I just wanted to show you all the possibilities. Now I can, of course, take some of these away. If you know Greek, you're going to want the manuscript. But if you don't read Greek characters, well, just look at the transliterated form, right? And you can do it something like this. Maybe I don't want to see the root. Maybe I don't want to see these references to Strong's and Loneida. Okay, so maybe I want something like that. Now I only have 4 lines, but see how helpful this is? Like, I can just come to the verb turned and see, okay, that's the verb straphes. It's from the Greek lemma strepho. And this code here tells me the morphology. If you don't know what those letters stand for yet, just hover over them. In the bottom left corner of the tile, it says verb, aorist, passive participle, singular, nominative, masculine. And so you can quickly understand what that VAPP SNM stands for. Now, you might not like this view. You might just feel like this is just too much. I can't find the next line. I wish I could just see the manuscript again. Well, why don't we just turn it back off? But I want to show you another option. We're going to turn off all of these boxes that we checked earlier. But I'm going to leave just the surface. And now down below, notice I have another option for the reverse interlinear pane. And watch what this does now. Now I have down on the lower portion of the screen a chart which moves according to where my mouse is. So if I click hindrance, boom, it tells me scandalon is the word in Greek. And I have all this information that I had before, and I can right click on the menu on the left and choose whichever options that I want. Maybe I want to see that strong number after all, and then I can click that link to my dictionaries. But if I don't, I can always manipulate that list again by right clicking and then deselecting whatever is extra. And again, to toggle that off, just come up here and click interlinear, and see how I'm back at my English Bible. Again, toggle it back on, and it's visible. I love how easy that is to do. Now, that's interlinears. What we can also do is show you how this is, I can make a window that contains both the English and the Greek all in one. So let me go ahead and close these tabs here. And now let's stretch this all the way to the side. Okay, now I can come here and it says multiple resources display. Well, let's click this arrow and see what I might add. So I would love to have the Nestlé Alain 28th edition. So as I type in NA28, I can click that, that box here, and now when I move outside of the screen, I've readied my tool. All I have to do is activate it by clicking this multiple resources display. And whenever I click that, look what happens. See how I can see side by side and navigate very quickly, and I'm all in one tile. And by the way, the same thing is true that was before, right? If I highlight a verse, like here in 23, watch what happens in my Greek, right there in the same tile. And I know that's very attractive. Now, for those who want to navigate inside their RSV into the Old Testament, what happens when I go to Genesis 1:1? Well, obviously, it's not going to open my Greek New Testament alongside of it because the Greek is only in the New Testament. We have Hebrew in the Old, so watch what we can do. We can come here again to our multiple resource view, and this time, let's type in the LHB, the Lexham Hebrew Bible, and I'll check that box, and now when I move outside of it, look what happens. See how the Hebrew text is right here alongside? And again, I can hover over beginning and Bereshit is highlighted. Move over to God and Elohim. And that is very, very helpful for learning the biblical languages. But again, when I navigate to Matthew 1:1, now I'm in the New Testament, it goes immediately to the Greek. So again, come to multiple resource and make sure that you're going to set up both the NA28 and the LHB together so you can see these texts side by side with your favorite translation. Now, hopefully you've learned a little bit about how to use the tools, but I really want to encourage you to hang in there. So many of us learn Greek and Hebrew in a semester and then we don't use it. Well, now with the software, you've got all the reasons and all the help you need to keep up that Greek and Hebrew and make sure that it serves you for your needs. Get familiar with these tools so you can be more expert and, kiss that bride without the veil.